You're watching Beyond Market. Welcome. I'm Esther Awuni. Many thanks for joining us. On the show today, we'll discuss Nigeria's ease of doing business targets. You can be part of today's conversation using the hashtag Beyond Markets. You can also send tweets to my Twitter handle too. It's at Esther O. Awuni. As part of efforts to reach its ease of doing business targets, Nigeria has unveiled its National Action Plan 5.0 that will run from the 5th of February to the 4th of April this year. Jumoke Oduwole, Special Advisor to Nigeria's President on the ease of doing business, joins me to unpack the plan. Now, 2019 was a very busy year for PEBEC, and one of the key highlights of some of the tasks that you engaged in last year was the Literation Drive. Could you just shed more light on that for us? How did that go, and what kind of progress was recorded?
The Literation has had excellent, in fact, it's taken on a life of its own. For those who don't know, Literation is our nationwide tour. We had a kickoff event on the 10th of October in Lagos. Q4 was extremely busy. We went to Southeast, we were in Owerri. We went to North Central, Ilorin. We went to Southwest, Ekiti. Then we went to South-South, Uyo. This year, we started off last week in the FCT. Okay. These events are regional events hosted by the state governor, or in the FCT's case, with the minister. And we'll be going around the rest of the country. Jigawa, Bauchi, and Kano are the last three locations. Now, what it is we want to hear from entrepreneurs across the country. It's a lit tour, it's listen, implement, and track. So that's the Literation. Really targeted at younger entrepreneurs, and by that I don't mean age. I mean businesses that are 0 to 3, 0 to 5. Okay. That demographic, 0 to 7, about that. Looking at how the PEBEC reforms have made an impact. We've also been inviting at least 3 entrepreneurs to give testimonials. So the speakers, you know, from 2016, we've been having events where government agencies and the PEBEC team are presenting to private sector. But this time, it's private sector presenting to private sector. Okay. And then we have a fireside chat. So that's been the model. The response has been phenomenal because it's been very authentic conversations. In fact, in every single location, the governor has put aside his prepared speech and spoken from the heart. And so the fireside chat has been very, very candid discussions. You know, young entrepreneurs, they really don't hold back, and they just say it like it is. So it's been an engaging discussion.
So what would you say, what were those things that PEBEC learned in the journey, going across the geopolitical zone?
It's helped us authenticate and confirm what we do know, the pain points, whether it's in the area of infrastructure, whether it's in the area of processes, and people issues. So entrepreneurs have told us various things, from as little as the cost of the tariff on packaging, to things like access to roads, how they can't reach their customers, so particular roads, and governors have taken note of that. So it depends on the region you're in and the demographics in that space, but also, because of our online registration, we're able to see the demographic in the room. Okay. So it's always interesting. Like in Lagos, a lot of the tech community were there. The SARS police thing came up. So from there, we were able to engage with the minister of Police Affairs, also engage with the CGI. The Lagos State Governor went to Abuja. So you have outcomes also coming along, and the conversations continue. So that's been Literation.
Across those geopolitical zones, what would you say were the common denominators? I know they listed a host of issues, challenges, etc., but what were 1 or 2 common denominators?
Entrepreneurs have been happy about the automation of taxes. I think that has been one of the reforms that has struck a chord the highest. If we had to take a poll on the most impactful reforms, I think they really like the idea that there's more transparency, and they don't feel like their cash is being diverted because they have their online tracking mechanisms. In different parts, this wasn't Literation, but I was in Newi late last week, and power came up there. Power also came up in the Southwest, I believe. But we've had also discussions around access and feeder roads, also infrastructure. That came up in Lagos. That also came up in I think it was the South-South. So infrastructure has been big. Regulatory concerns have been big in the sense of simplifying procedures. So different targeted, depends on really the entrepreneurs that speak up. The testimonials have been extremely powerful because you have businesses there was one that had 36,000 views from the FCT one, an entrepreneur that moved from Port Harcourt to Abuja. She mentioned security concerns in Port Harcourt, and how her catering business is thriving in Abuja. And social media was just like all over the place, different people commenting. So it's been good for Nigeria, I think, to know that reforms are ongoing. We are happy to listen, to validate what we are working on, to know that businesses are seeing the benefit in what we do, and to continue along that process and make it work for them.
But with that, all the data that you gathered from those trips, would you say that were you able to just take that and take a step back and say, okay, because I mean I want to assume that for PEBEC, many of the rules or initiatives you put together are obviously not cast in stone. There's constant tweaking and all of that. Yeah. Did you have to do some major?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, we've been doing that at least at the end of, we have a report for the end of each one. We've been giving feedback to different governors, ministers as we go along. We are making a midway report to the National Executive Council and the National Economic Council, the NEC, and the Governors Forum, because it's a collaboration between PEBEC and NEC. So all the state governors are involved. The host governors are hosting on behalf of their regions. And we have technical discussions with government officials on the sidelines. Okay.
Now let's fast forward to 2020 now. We're in a new year and we have another national action plan, this time 5.0, running from February the 5th to April the 4th of 2020. We're at 5.0. We're 5.0. I remember you were here for as early as 2.0, now we're at 5.0. Well, how would you say it's all coming together? Is it all coming?
It's been really, I think, emotional for the team, because this is really the 5th. So we had 2 the first year in 2017, and then we've had 1. So it tells you the journey we've been on. This is Team Nigeria. So the things you see here is a testament to the PEBEC model and to collaboration. So you have deliverables from state governments, from judiciary at the state level, at the federal level. You have from National Assembly, of course, from federal ministries, departments, and agencies. So colleagues are working together. We had a kickoff workshop to fine-tune the reforms and the strategy for implementing them. And, you know, I had the privilege of saying to the team, like, this is really Team Nigeria. Because businesses don't really care about whether it's a state judiciary or the federal agency or the state government. All they know is that this is a bottleneck and they want it gone. So we're working very well together and looking forward to the push. The 60-day accelerator is a model that is homegrown to Nigeria. We've actually been asked to come speak internationally on a number of occasions. And it's one that is working for us. Everybody coming, of course, you know, we started the cycle on the 1st of November, but the accelerator is like the last push that everybody agrees what can be done, what we can stretch ourselves and task ourselves with, and we publicly announce it and track it. So this is the beginning. There'll be the midway tracking and then the end.
Okay, I want us to take a deep dive into this 5.0 national action plan. It has, I mean, similar to what we've seen in the past, like starting the business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity. So it's pretty much the same model as it were. But so I just want to know what is different with each one of them. Maybe, I mean, there's so many. And I know you partnered with more ministries, departments, and agencies this time. But perhaps we just take a couple of them, focus on a couple of them, and then you can just
I'll make it simple. So what it is we continue, you know, it's continuous improvement. So we continue peeling the layers of the onion. So with, for instance, starting a business, we're looking at FIRS and CAC merging payments back end so that it's even more seamless. With dealing with construction permits and, say, registering property, with dealing with construction permits, the state governments are looking at going to a risk-based system, making sure that the system is more robust, looking at construction insurance and things that can make the construction phases safer, more reliable for the public, and the transparency of the requirements. So it's the same indicators. We prioritize some over the other, but definitely we keep walking in sort of concentric circles and going deeper and deeper and pushing ourselves more. So the low-hanging fruits that we took in NAP 60 and NAP 1.0, 2.0, now 5.0, it's getting deeper. Some of them are more technical, they're back-end, but the impact of it, the outcomes of it, Nigerian public businesses will just notice that things are more seamless. Automation, we're really pushing automation in different areas. So Those are the kinds of refunds.
So are you taking each one of them, for instance, dealing with construction permits and looking at, because obviously this was on the model last year too, last time. I'm just wondering, are you continuing from the progress level where it got to, because I'm just wondering, was there a stopping point and a continuation point?
So before we started the project in 2017, we did a holistic assessment of Nigerian sort of processes, people and processes mainly, because infrastructure is sort of a bit outside of our remit. So we had short-term, medium, and long-term plans. So as we finish the short-term, the simpler ones, because you have to be sort of realistic, we look at what can we achieve, and we work on the processes. We know the global best practice, and then we look at best fit for Nigeria, and we sort of negotiate back and forth with MDAs based on what we've heard from the private sector. We also prioritize according to the needs of private sector, so that we're not off on our own tangent where the shoe is pinching somewhere else. So we also adjust our models based on what we hear when we engage with public sector, with private sector. We also have focus groups where we share what we're trying to work on, and we get input from especially sort of legal community, architects, engineers. Depending on what the reform is, we go to the specialists also, tax consultants, and so we're working in tandem with them to make sure that what we're delivering for the specialists, for the consultants, and their clients will be fit for purpose.
Okay, are there some, I mean, do you also categorize some of the main points here, like trading across borders, enforcing contracts, for instance? Do you look at what the progress from 2019 and say, okay, this was the main problem in terms of from a reform point of view, we're going to go put in this X amount of energy this year instead to achieve that? Were there some that you've categorized into a place where they were perhaps very challenging and you set them aside and said, this time perhaps there's a different approach we're going to take?
So, for instance, let me take enforcing contract. We've been working with state governments to have small claims courts. The idea is to decongest the state high courts by moving the lower claims, liquidated damages, to specialized small claims courts. So you have things like training of the magistrates, capacity. Sometimes they need laptops, the report generation, and then we start stepping it up a bit. You want to have the judgments online. You start working on the execution of the judgments, because it's 60 days to judgment and 30 days to execution. So you start working with police, the bailiffs, so you don't just get a judgment. The enforcement of the judgment should also follow through, so that in 90 days, justice is indeed served. You start working on things like automation for case assignments. So with enforcing contracts, we work with the judiciary and we see their base level and start upping it. The idea is to just streamline things, to reduce the cost, and to make it faster and more transparent. So with those goals in mind, we're constantly looking at people issues, processes, and of course, you can't really run away from infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about institutions. You work with a number of them, and right now Nigeria continues to struggle with weak institutions. How difficult does that make your task in ensuring, trying to promote ease of doing business, making life more easy or easier, as it were, for businesses in the country, but at the same time having to work with weak institutions? How does that, turn out for you?
Well, it's an opportunity. We see it as an opportunity to partner with ministries, departments, agencies, judiciary, all across the board. We are a back-end team, so we really work seamlessly. Where we see gaps, sometimes it takes an objective outside eye to say, can we do things this way? Can we layer automation here for transparency? Can we ask you for this report on a monthly basis? The idea is to institutionalize processes so that it's transparent and to make sure that it's a continuous improvement. So we have a lot of back-end collaboration where we can help, whether with technical expertise, partnerships. We also encourage agencies to form partnerships. We encourage across the board. So it's working well. Relationships are being formed so people they trust each other, can reach out for help. And yeah.
Now, under the 5.0 component, there are expected outcomes and impact, what happens when you're not able to achieve that for either one?
Yeah, it's happened before. I mean, sometimes either there's reform fatigue. In fact, that's why we reduced it to one a year. In 2017, we had two accelerators, and NAP 2.0 ended at a really abysmal 52%, in our opinion, because our expectations were so high. That was like November, December. There was some reform fatigue. We had really pushed everyone very hard that year. That was the year we moved up 24 places. So what we decided to do was to take a step back, re-strategize the cycle. It's not every time you hit 100% for any student in any class, but it's A for effort. You need to push and try your best. Sometimes we ask the council for an extension. So we had 60 days and asked for an extension. Maybe we get 30 more days to push some other things. It's an opportunity to ask for political support, so the political will to escalate things, to forge a collaboration very rapidly, and to draw public attention. I also want to chip in our report gov, and I hope you'll ask me about that, Esther.
At some point in this conversation.
Because it's the other side of the coin. So.
I don't know if I've asked you this question already, but are there, I know the 5.0 just has 60 days, but are there particular sectors or accelerators that you would like to put more energy into because you believe that the ripple effect, will have a far greater impact than the others?
Registering property is one that has come up. You asked me which areas come up a lot with the construction community. They just need that whole process streamlined across the country. So in literation, that came up, and Lagos State team in particular is prioritizing that area. Kano has sort of mapped out their land in about 3 large local governments, so they're kind of ahead in that area. I think it depends on the businesses. Some businesses will talk to you about taxes, some will talk to you about access to credit. I wouldn't really want to cherry pick and prioritize because it depends on the entrepreneur you're speaking with. Some would say I've factored in infrastructure costs. I just factor it into my model. What my real issue is processes and systems and people issues, even my own staffing and all that. So different entrepreneurs are dealing with things in different ways. And I wouldn't say any is more important. We have to support all of them. So
now, looking at the list of the MDAs, I'm thinking that there's some new government MDAs that are being added to the list. Are you a little nervous about working with them for the first time?
Well, we started working with them last year. We started working with them last year. The procurement MDAs. For a while now, we've been trying to make sure that there's differentiation with procurement because government is such a big spender. And so simplifying the procurement procedures, making it more transparent and making it more accessible, it's something that the Vice President had tasked us on about 2 years ago. So we started looking at how, and the World Bank is also, it's funny, after we started, the World Bank also started looking at that, so we were ahead of the curve in that. And the goal is to make sure that SMEs can access procurement and be considered favorably so that we don't have the same government contracts going to particular big players. So we're really hoping for a vibrant outcome from that.
Would you say you're now working since this started, since the National Action Plan started, that you're now working with a more efficient public service?
Yes, I would say that I've seen the growth in the last this is the 4th year. Just the level of I know where we started from with a trust deficit and a lot of resistance to change, and this is the way we do it. And the conversations we have now are completely different at all levels. And you have a lot of agencies coming up with their own reform strategies, and we are just like a sounding board. So that's why we're really determined to make sure that the reform ethos permeates across the public and civil service and across the country and state government as well, and all levels of and arms of government, because it is one economy and it's the only way. So
let's talk about, was it a .gov you called it? You wanted to talk? Report. Okay, let's talk about that.
So reportgov.ng is one of our biggest tools. It's really for the private sector. It's the other side of the coin of the Executive Order 1. You recall the Executive Order 1 was the first executive order of this administration for transparency and efficiency in the public service. Reportgov.ng is an app and a portal that lists a number of government agencies, and it has a 72-hour response timeline approved by the Federal Executive Council. It applies to all agencies across the board at the federal level, although a number of state governors have started wanting to adopt it. And what it is an opportunity for private sector to complain or compliment a government agency. All government agencies are supposed to have up-to-date websites with the procedures and the cost transparently listed out. So the time for getting a particular permit is online. And if that time is exceeded, please make a complaint to ReportGov. It will go through the channels right to the reform champion of that agency and escalate it to the head of agency. So now you have a lot more accountability. We produce an annual report and an interim report every 6 months. So they're being tracked. They submit a monthly report, which we collate and then we track them. So it's getting some traction, but I need the support of Nigerian public to use the app more and to use the portal more so that we can get the data and know where the hotspots are.
I know, Pebek, you already have that already, that mechanism, that portal where people go to complain and make compliments and all of that.
Yes.
But for the MDAs, the first step is obviously updating the website, ensuring that it's all in place in the first place. Have we crossed that hurdle?
Oh yes, that was executive order. That was since 2017.
Okay, so that is already in place.
The ReportGov app, we sort of midwife it, but it goes to the MDAs themselves. So you have FIRS, CAC, immigration, a whole host of them that we focus on. And so we make sure that they're responding. And some of them, like immigration, like police, they have their own as well. So it's for responsiveness, and they have teams at the back end. We've spent a lot of time with the training. We even just had a refresher for Servicom on Monday, and that's to make sure that the responsiveness is there.
But how, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the responsiveness? How would you rate how effective? Well, let's leave it at responsive.
It has become, the people that have used it, their testimonials even on Twitter, even online, that, they were so shocked that they got a response, they've got their issues resolved. Sometimes they made mistakes and they've got clarifications on how the processes work or what's required. So it's communication, right? The thing is, it's effective now because not that many people are using it. What I want to see is a whole load of, how many millions of people and how many millions of SMEs. I need to see a lot more traction. Then we'll know whether it's effective or not.
What do you think? Why do you think that is so, that we're not getting a
I think it's communication and trust. So people have been used to so many government things that they think maybe, it's just this. But I want people to try it. Reportgov.ng. I want people to try it and then talk about it. When they get that response, I know people that have used it tell me all the time, send me messages. But people that don't know about it, so they just vent on Twitter, and that's that. We want a more holistic response so that we can action them.
Now, beyond the National Action Plan 5.0, what else is in the pipeline for PEBEC this year? This
year we have 4 priority areas. This is I really haven't talked about this publicly before, so we're focusing on agribusiness, the tech community, the creative sector, and light manufacturing. So these are areas that we've seen we have a competitive advantage, and it's in line with the ERGP. But the PEBEC intervention is systemic and it's broad. But we're working with these 4 demographics. We started with the tech community already, started engaging more with the others as well. So that's going to be our focus at PEBEC for this year, those 4 areas.
I thought I was going to hear the visa policy. I thought...
the visa policy is live.
Okay.
The visa policy was launched. It's live. So, that has been a lot of work. We've been on visa on arrival since 2016.
Well, I know that, it's been tweaked and...
It's been more than tweaked. It's been revolutionized, especially to jumpstart economic activity. So there's a whole bunch of new classes of visas. So people that have specific requirements coming to the country, sometimes experts. I know there was a GenCo that needed some experts to come in from Hungary or something to fix a technical problem, and we're having some visa challenges, things like that, specific short-term work visas, just a lot quicker, clarity, the codes are there. Nigerians that have a new nationality, an adopted country, and that country doesn't allow dual citizenship, say like Germany and some others, they can have their special kind of visa, so they don't have to apply for visas anymore. So it's a lot in there. We've been like talking about it. The president launched it last week. It's a very progressive step. A lot of incentives for Africans coming in also, without compromising national security. So a lot of thought and engagement went into it over the last, say, 18 months. And I'm actually really proud of Nigerian Immigration Service. Very reform-minded leadership there.
Well, my guest today has been Jumoke Oduwole, Special Advisor to Nigeria's President on the ease of doing business. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Remember, you can watch all previous episodes of the show on our website. That's cnbcafrica.com. You can also stay engaged with the hashtag Beyond Markets. You can also send your thoughts and your comments to my Twitter handle too. It's at Esther O. Awuni. For myself and the team, it's bye for now.